everybody, thanks for coming back to my channel. This week we're breaking down the lyrics to Deja Vu by TXT. Let's get into it. Real quick before we get started, I wanted to declare today's word of the day. And it is 약속. It means promise. You will see it come up a lot in this song, so look out for it. Anyway, let's get started. Alright, let's start with verse 1. It goes, 수없이 도망갔었어, 그저 무서웠었어. And it means I ran away countless times just out of fear. 수없이 means like in large numbers or a bunch of times. 도망갔었어 comes from the verb 도망가다, which means to run away. And this, the 갔었어, is the past perfect form. So instead of this meaning I ran away, it kind of means I had run away. 그저 is a word that I just learned. It kind of means nothing but or just. 무서웠었어 comes from the verb 무섭다, which means to be scared or frightened. And this is also in the past perfect tense. So instead of it saying I was scared, it kind of means I had been scared. So I had run away countless times. I had just been scared. Next line is 아직 시작에서 기다리는 너를 두고. And that means leaving you waiting at the starting line. 아직 means still or yet. 시작 is a start and 에서 is a location marker. 기다리는 comes from the verb 기다리다, which means to wait. 너 is you. And 두고 comes from the verb 두다, which means to leave behind or to put, set, place, or position something. So, leaving you still waiting at the start, or I guess at the starting line. Next line is 속의 Morse code, old promise. And that means the Morse code amongst the ruins, an old promise. 폐허 or ruins or demolition. 속에 kind of means of the interior. So 속 means in, and 에 is like a possession marker. So 폐허 속의 Morse code kind of means the Morse code of the ruins. 오랜 kind of means long time or old. So 오랜 promise means an old promise. Next line is 이유를 모르던 너의 눈물 내 뭐야. And that means not knowing the reason of my tears, my 뭐야. And EU is a reason. 모르던 comes from the verb 모르다, which means to not know, and 던 kind of is like a past tense form of this verb. 나 is me or I, and 에 right here is a possession marker, so it kind of means my. 눈물 or tears. 내 is my. 이유를 모르던 means you didn't know the reason. 너의 눈물 are my tears, and then 내 뭐야, my 뭐야. Next line is you and I 약속의 별빛 아래서. And that means you and I under the starlit promise. A 약속 is a promise. This symbol again, this little 에 at the end is a possession marker, so promise becomes promises. 별 is a star, 빛 is a light, so 별빛 is starlight. 아래 means under or beneath or below. And 서 is a location marker. It's a shortened form of eso, which is a location marker for an action. So, you and I, 약속의 별빛 아래서 means under the promise's starlight. Next line is 먼지 쌓인 우리의 왕관 앞에서. And that means before our dust-piled crown. 먼지 is dust. 쌓인 comes from the verb 쌓이다, which means to pile up. 우리 means we or us, and with the possession marker at the end, it becomes our. A 왕관 is a crown. 앞에서 means in front of or before. 앞 means in front, and 에서 is a location marker. So, 먼지 쌓인 means piled dust. 우리의 왕관 앞에서, in front of our crown. Next line is 영혼에 새긴 꿈처럼 다시. And that means once again, like the dream carved in my soul. A 영혼 is a spirit or soul. 에 is a location marker. 새긴 comes from the verb 새기다, which means to carve, inscribe, or engrave. A 금 is a dream, and 처럼 means like. 다시 means again. So, 영혼에 새긴 꿈처럼 is like a dream carved into my soul. Again. Next line is 영원히 되죠 나를 불러줘. And that means be my eternity, say my name. 영원 is eternity. 돼 comes from the verb 됐다, which means to become, and a handful of other things depending on the context. And then 조 is kind of what you put on the end of something to turn it into a command. So this person is saying, become this, which is eternity. So basically they're saying, be my eternity. Become my eternity. 나 means me or I, and 르 is just the object marker. 불러줘 comes from the verb 부르다, which means to call out, to say, or to sing. So 영원히 되줘 means be my eternity. 나를 불러줘 means call out to me or say my name. Alright, now we're in the chorus, and it goes 기억해 마침내 찾아낸 너의 믿은 너야. And that means I remember the answer I finally found. My future is you. 기억해 comes from the verb 기억하다, which means to recall or remember. 마침내 means at last or finally. 찾은 comes from the verb 찾다, which means to search for or find something. 나 means me or I, and with the possessive particle at the end of it, 나의 becomes my. A 미래 is a future. 너 is you, and when you put 야 at the end of something, it means is. So 너야 means it's you. If I wanted to say it's me, I would say 나야. 기억해 마침내 찾은 answer. 마침내 찾은 answer is the answer I finally found. I remember it. 나의 미래는 너야. My future is you. Next line is Say my name. 첫날의 약속처럼 널 세게 안을 거야. And that means say my name. I'll hug you tight as promised on the first day. So a 첫날 is like a first day. 첫 means first and 날 is a day. The e at the end is a possessive particle. So first day becomes first days. 약속 is a promise and 처럼 means like. 너 means you. 세게 means like firm or powerful or strong. 안을 거야 means like I will hug you. So 안 comes from the verb 안다, which means to hug, hold, cuddle, or embrace. And the ending 을 거야 is just future tense. So 첫날의 약속처럼 means like our first day's promise. I will hug you firmly or tightly. Next line is 마치 deja vu. 넌 마치 deja vu. And that means like deja vu, you're like deja vu. 마치 means like. It's kind of like 처럼. And 넌 means you are. 마치 again means like. So 마치 deja vu, 넌 마치 deja vu means like deja vu, you're like deja vu. And then it goes say it, say it, say it, say it louder. And then we go into verse 2. Alright, now we're in verse 2. It goes 나를 태우는 그 불꽃빛 속에. And that means in the flaming rain that's burning me, or in the rain of the flame that burns me. Papago gave me a different answer than the given translation, so I just wrote both here. They're kind of similar, kind of different. Doesn't matter. We're going to break it down anyway. 나 is me or I. 태우는 comes from the verb 태우다, which means to burn or scorch. 그 is that. A 불꽃 is a flame. 비 is rain. 속 means in, and 에 is a location marker. 나를 태우는 is like burning me, that flame in the rain. Next line is 영겁같이 긴 여행 속에. And that means within that long, eternal journey. 영겁 is eternity. 같이 means like. 긴 comes from the verb 길다, which means to be long or lengthy. 여행 is a journey. 속 means in, and 에 is a location marker. So 영겁같이 긴 여행 속에 means in the long journey that was like eternity. Next line is 너와 나는 슬픔은 my clarity. And that means the sadness we shared is my clarity. 너 means you, and 와 means with or and. 나는 comes from the verb 나누다, which means to split up, divide, or distribute. 슬픔은 is sadness or sorrow. So 너와 나는 슬픔은 is the sadness that I split with you, is my clarity. Next line is 너의 눈물 곁으로. And that means is by your tears. 너 means you, and 에 is a possession marker, so you becomes your. 눈물 or tears. 곁 is a side. Okay, so normally 으로 means through, with, via, towards, but in this context it doesn't really make sense when you try to line it up with the given translation. So I went online and I asked somebody, and they said that in this situation, uro means to go somewhere or get closer. In retrospect, I kind of think that uro means towards in the situation. So I think it means like towards the side of your tears, which still doesn't really make a lot of sense in English, but maybe it makes more sense in Korean. So 너의 눈물 곁으로 means to the side of your tears. Alright, next line is Oh, 추락해 오는 순간에도 넌 all I need. And it means, oh, even when I'm falling, you're all I need. 추락해 comes from the verb 추락하다, which means to fall, drop, plunge, crash, or fall. 오는 comes from the verb 오다, which means to come. And these two verbs together kind of means that it's falling and getting closer. 순간 is a moment. 에 is a location marker. 도 means to as well, or in some cases, even if. 넌 means you are. So I think this line means even in a moment where I'm falling and I'm crashing down, getting closer, you're all I need. Hello, we meet again. So this line is weird, and I consulted somebody online about this because it was such a weird line. Now, I was basing my understanding of that line off of the given translation from the company. But somebody online pointed out that there are a lot of references to the moment where the singer and the woman that they're singing to come back together. And that kind of makes sense because 추락해 오는 순간 is like a moment that is coming and falling. This person online that pointed this out said that 추락해 오는 순간 is like the moment that is falling towards us, or the moment that is coming. Now, I think what this really comes down to is two really poetic takes on this phrase. Because it's a phrase that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And it's weird because the translation from the company says, even when I'm falling, you're all that I need. In the translation, it doesn't even refer to this moment where they return back together. But the actual Korean words refer to a moment. So the words are 추락해 오는 moment. 추락해 and 오는 modify the word 순간, which is moment. So what kind of moment is it? It's a moment that is coming and falling, I guess, towards us. So there's multiple ways to interpret this line. It's a weird line, but I'm just giving you this information so that you can choose how you want to interpret it. All right, back to the video. Next line is 무너진 폐허쯤은 너의 나의 place of promise. And that means amid all the ruins, our place of promise. 무너진 comes from the verb 무너지다, which means to collapse or crumble. 폐허 are ruins. A 틈 is like a crack in between something or a gap in between something. And then 에 is a possession marker. So this is kind of like gaps. 너와 means with you, 너 means you, and 와 means with or and. 나의 means my, 나 is me or I, and 에 is a possession marker, so my plus a possession marker. 나의 is my, 나 is me or I, and 에 is a possession marker, so me plus a possession marker becomes my. Although I will say 너와 나 means you and me, so this kind of means our. Instead of with you and then my separately, it's our place of promise. So 무너진 뼈의 틈에 are like the gaps of the collapsed ruins, which are our place of promise. Next line is 안식의 대지 영원히 회귀, and it means the land of rest, the return of eternity. 안식 is rest. It has a possession marker on the end of it, so rest becomes rests. 대지 is like land or earth or a site. 영원 is eternity. It also has a possession marker of 에, so eternity becomes eternities. A 회귀 is a return. So 안식의 대지 means rest's land or the land of rest. 영원의 회귀, eternity's return or the return of eternity. Last line of verse 2 goes 나 기다려줬던 너, and that means you're the one that waited for me. 나 is me or I. 기다려 comes from the verb 기다리다, which means to wait. Here's where it gets a little confusing. Okay, so 줬던 is like the past tense. 줬던 is a past tense form of the verb 주다, which means to give. But when you attach 주다 to the end of another verb, it means that somebody has done something for you. So 기다려줬던, it kind of means waited for me. And then no is just you. So 나 기다려줬던 너 means you waited for me. Okay, and then after that we've got the chorus again. 기억해 마침내 찾으면서 나의 미래 너야. Say my name. 전날의 약속처럼 너에게 하는 거야. 마치 deja vu. 난 마치 deja vu. Say it louder. And then there's like a little breakdown, and then we get an alternative chorus. So we're gonna call this the final chorus. Let's get into it. Alright, the final chorus goes 약속해 몇 번을 반복해도 나의 미래 너야. And it means I promise you over and over, my future is you. 약속 is promise, and when you add 하다 to the end of a noun, it turns it into a verb. So 약속하다 means to promise. So 약속해 is the present tense form of 약속하다. 몇 번 means how many times. 몇 means how many, and 번 is like a time or an occurrence. 반복해 comes from the verb 반복하다, which means to repeat. And the 도 at the end means no matter what, or even if. This little combination of words gets a little confusing, but basically 몇 번을 반복해도 kind of means no matter how many times you repeat it, or I guess over and over. And then 너의 미래는 너야 is the same from the last chorus, which means you are my future. 너의 is my, 미래 is future, and 너야 means it's you. Next line is 빛의 베일에 신부처럼 밤새게 너에게 안을 거야. And that means under the veil of the light, I'll hug you tight, who's shining like a bride. A beat is a light. It has a possession marker on the end of it, so it becomes lights. A veil is a veil. That would be a Korean loan word, which is a word that's taken from another language and basically Koreanized. So veil is beil. And then 에 is a location marker. A 신부 is a bride, and 처럼 means like. 반짝일 comes from the verb 반짝이다, which means to glitter, sparkle, or twinkle. And then the ending, 너에게 안을 거야, is the same thing from the other chorus, and it means I'll hug you tight. 너 is you. 세게 means firmly or tightly or powerfully, but we'll just say tight because we're referring to a hug here. 안 comes from 안다, which means to hug or embrace or hold somebody. 거야 is just the future tense. At the light's veil, you're twinkling like a bride, and I will hug you tightly. And that's basically the end of Deja Vu by TXT. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, you can leave your suggestions and corrections in the comment section below. I love to hear your feedback. Also, if you follow my Instagram, you can find bite-sized versions of what I post on YouTube. Anyway, I'll see you next Sunday, and in the meantime, I hope you have a great week. Bye!